Welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast on the Prepper Broadcasting Network. We talk prepping, guns, and politics every week on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Go check out our content at mwfpodcast.com on Facebook or Instagram. You can support us via Patreon or by checking out our affiliate partners. I'm your host, Phil Rabalais. Andrew and Nick are on the other side of the mic, and here's your show. And welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast. Phil's here, Nick's here, Andrew's not. Andrew is going undercover as a protester. Last I talked to him, he was dyeing his hair blue and identifying as something called a Z-Zimzer.
Blue's not his color.
I tried to smooth talk him into identifying as an Apache attack helicopter. He said that would kind of fall flat with this crowd, so I'm gonna take him at his word.
Well, I would have thought he would have been better off with green, but green.
I mean, either or. I will say that regarding some of the extracurricular activities going on around the country right now, I do have it on good authority from some of our friends with Com Syndicate. They're talking about going to some of these protests and just like in a journalistic capacity, trying to record what's going on and everything else. But they asked me if I would do similar around here, and I said absolutely not.
Look, man, I would have to. Well, I could. There will probably be some geriatrics on the downtown section of my hometown here, and I don't think that would be a problem to cover. It would also be extremely dull. There may be some signs that are poorly written, but to get to any of the protests of note, I would have to either go to downtown Rockford or downtown Chicago, which I don't go to when there isn't a protest on and it isn't riot season, so I'm not going now.
My whole problem is that, like, in the state of Louisiana, we're pretty concealed carry friendly, but there's this little stipulation that you can't carry within, I think it's 500 feet of any activity that requires a permit, which means protests, parades, so on and so forth.
I have a question, Phil.
Go ahead.
Are they required to post where exactly that 500-foot area is?
I don't believe so. You're talking about like with police lines or whatever else?
Is it publicly disclosed in advance the exact location and geographical boundaries of all of these things, including the 500-foot margin?
So first of all, don't quote me on the 500-foot because I'm pulling that out of my behind.
No, whatever
the buffer zone is legal statute.
Sure.
I think it radiuses out from whatever the address given for the protest is going to be. So like if it's say like at a street corner cross street, it's that radius from there or that radius from wherever the event is housed, which at a Mardi Gras parade, because it's a route, it's like that radius on either side of the parade route. Okay. And I know it's being challenged in state court because basically the assertion is like, why if I'm not even at the thing and I'm not participating in the thing, but I'm just happen to be like walking to my car, I could get pinched.
Yeah.
And the problem there is that like, it's kind of the same situation as every other time concealed carriers get jacked up by police and say, well, fight it out in court. It's like, yeah, except that's going to cost tens of thousands of dollars, months off of work, probably some jail time in the meantime.
Oh yeah,
a substantial bail agreement,
or you take the plea it down to not a felony, and walk away.
And the bigger problem is that the number of people who have been pinched for that statute, I cannot remember a single one in recent times, except for one, that was not also in the process of committing some other felony. There was one, I specifically remember this from years ago. It was actually a gentleman who was an open carrier protester, and he intentionally got within a block, open carrying a firearm.
He was playing
within a
arrest
block
me, I want to sue you.
Yes, I never found out how it went, so my suspicion is they either turned him loose and just refused to file the charges because they didn't really
sue.
Because then he can't sue. There is no court. There is no precedent. Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those situations where it's like, do I think it has any teeth to it? Possibly. Do I think it's legal? Absolutely not. But
yeah, it definitely sounds like, I realize it's not like definitional entrapment, but it sounds like a trap
for the audio listeners.
Yeah. A lot of quotes there. I realize it's not actual entrapment. Sure sounds like a trap for normal people to me. Because I don't know
Yeah,
about you,
only
but there are protests that happen that get permits in my state all the time. I don't know that the state actually publishes all of those permits without you calling every location. So like
yeah.
my old hometown that I used to live in, they would post them on a board in City Hall. That's the only place those permits were listed. So you had to
So if you
physically
weren't aware
go
of
to
them,
City Hall. Right.
yeah, but we are also operating from the false premise that like our government wants us to be informed because informed people are
Right.
less likely to break laws. I kind of get the impression that are there definitely those public official out there that they want you to stumble into a felony just so they can jam you up.
Oh yeah. It's absolutely a felony of convenience because look what happens to all of their friends when they get caught. Oh darn, look at that pardon.
Nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and when it does happen, they get a pardon. I mean, how many
pretty
auto
much.
pen pardons did Biden sign on his way out the door?
Well, the allegation is that he might not have signed any of them, and some of his aides were pushing the button for cash. But that's neither here nor there.
Oh, look at that. Corruption. Who would have
Corrupt
thought?
administration is corrupt. What foolishness is this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Uh,
I completely derailed you from the admin work.
you did. I'm going to do the admin work super quick, and then we're going to get right to it because the title is It's Riot Time, and we've used this title before for pretty much the exact same reasons we are now.
True.
But patrons, if you want to be a patron, that link is in the show description. You should sign up. You should become one of my fellow sociopaths, and you should encourage my malfeasance.
You should.
For $1 a month, you can have a direct voice into bullying me into irresponsible purchases or topics likely to get me put on a government watch list. Whichever
True.
you're in the mood for, probably both.
Definitely.
If you'd
both.
like to purchase some merch, support a small business, support this small business, because unlike protesters, we're not getting a dime from the government to support our activities. That link is also in the show description. If you would like to meet me and my wife and our family in person for some survival related content and training, Cypress Survivalist, that link is in the show description. November, I think it's the 14th. I suck at admin work. I should make you do it.
You really should make me do it because
I really should.
I'm literally a freeloader.
It's
Phil often picks the topics. It's great. I occasionally throw one out there. I usually text him on Tuesday morning. Hey, so have you got any thoughts in on this?
Yeah, I'm turning over a new leaf in 2025, and I'm trying to actually run this like a semi-professional operation.
Good God, man!
At least until
telling me I can't drink on set.
I did say semi-professional.
Oh, thank God.
But that's only going to last as long as my ADHD allows me to, and as soon as it takes over, professionalism goes sailing right out the window.
Although you did have a really fun idea for next week. Do we want to tease it?
Oh, remind me at the very end. We'll tease at the very end.
All right.
But yes, it is a very fun idea. And if it goes over well with the listeners, we'll probably do it again because we're not going to run out of content in just one of those shows. Ooh. And if you like coffee, and if you don't, your life is sad and you should improve that. Code MOF at Disaster Coffee gets you 5% off any purchase in the store. I highly recommend. So, I really should shill the MOF dark humor for obvious reasons. And it is a really good coffee if you're into dark roast. I've actually kind of backed off from dark roast the last couple of years. I make a lot more medium and medium dark. So Bear Blend is the perfect mix for me.
Nice.
And the store now offers, we can't call them Keurig because it's a trademark and that's stupid, but coffee pods that are compatible with the machine on your counter. And one of the cool things about those coffee pods is that because our supplier, our roaster, has been working so hard to drive their costs down on the coffee pods, recently we had to amp up the prices across the whole store to keep up with, the escalating cost of coffee. It's been the tariffs. It's been a horrible yield this year.
And last year.
Yeah, anybody that's into coffee knows coffee prices are up, but we didn't touch the price on the pods. Specifically because our supplier managed to drive their cost to manufacture them down.
Nice.
So while everything else in the store went up, that one stayed the same. I mean, we were almost selling them for like no profit at first, just to try to get them out there and float them. And now there's actually profit margin back in that item. But
nice.
the end result is, I think I've got them priced at. Someone's going to crucify me if I'm wrong. I think it's $17 for a box.
I don't know.
You know what? Ignore me.
Prices are.
Go to disastercoffee.com. They are comparably priced with the rest of the market. If I recall correctly, I think we're like right around the same cost as like, your Black Rifle Coffee Company's pods and like PJ's Coffee pods. A little bit more than Folgers, but Folgers is trash.
Yeah.
A lot less than Death Wish. I don't know what they have in their coffee pods. They must be super proud of it because their prices are up there.
I don't know. Their coffee was okay when I tried it. It was all right.
Yeah.
I didn't try it in a pod because I hate the idea of Keurig machines.
Oh, dude, who are you talking to? I detest Keurig machines like horribly. I was against bringing them to the store. The only reason I did in the first place was because I actually had people tell me if we had pods in the store, they would be a customer.
Sure, that makes sense.
So I went ahead and, did the workup.
It's a market.
Yeah, I mean, it's a market. We have to serve it. But also because, like, now that I am working back in person, my office has nothing but Keurig machines.
Well, okay, but that was the intended use case for them originally, was the office environment where you have a lot of people with a lot of different preferences for coffee, unlike the blue-collar world where we all just drink burnt black, whatever's in the pot.
As opposed to my coffee snob ass over here that, like, roasts it and lovingly packages it and weighs it out so it's the perfect ratio.
Keurig
Makes my own Keurig pods, makes my own coffee creamer from scratch. I am the biggest coffee snob on earth, and I don't even fight it anymore.
That's fair, man.
Guy that comments, fancy coffee ain't going to be available in SHTF. There's 40 pounds of green beans on that shelf back there, brother. I'm not running out of coffee anytime soon. That is part of being a prepper. I am going to be the last person to run out of coffee within 5 miles of where I live. Guaranteed.
Or the first person to resort to war crimes when he does.
That's why there's so much coffee on the back shelf, so I don't have to resort to war crimes.
True.
Anyway, thanks for bringing up that little memory. The tensest moments of my life while I was overseas in Iraq was when the PX ran out of coffee and cigarettes.
Ooh.
Apart for a full week.
That's dangerous.
You have never listened. And like, this is a joint air base. So the Air Force is way over there and the Army is way over here. And all these Army aircraft mechanics, all these pilots, these are all friggin' like, they're kind of blue collar personality, but super, super smart because the minimum ASVAB score required to be an aircraft mechanic. But every one of us on the spectrum someplace jonesing because we're not getting our caffeine and nicotine. It was a situation. I thought for sure there was going to be a fist fight on the flight line. Fortunately, they restocked us and we didn't kill anybody.
Well, that's good.
Well, guy that comments, cheap coffee is the only stuff people will trade, just like liquor and cigs. No, that's not for trading purposes. That's medicinal. That's for me and my wife.
But he does make a good point, though. If you have a shortage of caffeinated beverages and you have the ability to make one, it's a trade commodity. It is.
Everything is a trade commodity when it's in shortage.
Yep.
All right. So the only banner I didn't put up was it's riot time, because it's that time of the year again where half of our country wants to burn the half down that the other half lives in, usually because of some nonsense.
Pretty much exclusively because of nonsense.
Yeah. But let's get to it. Start with this one. Did the Chicago mayor order a stand down? So y'all bear with me. There's this cool new feature StreamYard has given us. Right up here, there's a QR code for those of you who are watching this. Raggle Fraggle, is anyone else getting choppy audio?
Yeah, I'm hearing from my wife it's a little choppy too.
I wonder if...
Could be a YouTube thing.
It could be a YouTube thing. It could be a StreamYard thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, hard to say, guys. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing anything on our end, but I can only see my upload.
Yeah, I haven't gotten any notifications that the stream is bad, so it might be a YouTube thing.
Could be a server side thing. Pop out, pop back in. Try it. Maybe that'll help.
That's worth a try. But I was gonna say, StreamYard has given us this cool new feature up here where up in the corner of the screen there's a QR code. So if you would like to hit that and see magically clear it up as soon as we start talking about it. If you'd like to hit that QR code and watch the articles that we're referencing, that's available. And at some point, I'm probably going to screw up and put up the wrong QR code and the wrong banner, and y'all just have to tolerate it because, semi-professional.
Pretty much.
But the long and the short of it is there's an allegation from a former Chicago police officer that the mayor of Chicago told the cops do not respond to ICE when they were calling for help because they were getting the crap kicked out of them.
Yeah, funny about that. Allegedly,
Raggle Fraggle said other corner. So, that corner. It's one corner or the other. It's up at the top.
That's one. Yeah. Anyway. So allegedly, I currently have up on our screen a picture of the 911 dispatch notes. It says here.
You have to read it for the audio listeners.
Yeah. It says right here, Chief of Patrol, no units will respond to this as related from, and then it's cut off. So we're not quite sure where it's related from, but this is the call from one of approximately 30 armed border patrol agents who are currently being surrounded by a large crowd of people requesting CPD backup. So, at the very least, a chief of patrol decided that there would be no backup for federal agents in Chicago. My guess is it probably came from higher up than him because it's not too often you get a chief of patrol saying we are absolutely not responding to a call for assistance.
Now, here's where my conspiracy hat fits. On the one hand, do I think it is within the political machinations of Chicago politicians?
Yes.
And on the other hand, fifth generational warfare rules apply. Do I think there's a possibility that that has been edited as rage bait?
Yes.
Equally possible. So no conclusions to draw, just that, there is bullshittery afoot and somebody is lying and somebody's probably got their foot caught in the bear trap.
Although if you do look for it, you can find the audio of the 911 dispatch and you can hear the patrol captain, whatever his title was, telling 911 dispatch to recall all of the officers. So we have photographic evidence, we have audio evidence, both of which could be faked. Sure, fine.
Very easily.
We have a mayor in the city saying that they will not cooperate with ICE, that the police will not assist ICE in any way. And we have a governor. We have a governor saying that the state of Illinois will not assist ICE in any of its thing, or assist them if they're in trouble.
Wait, you mean Pritzker put down the cheeseburger long enough to say something?
He did. Apparently, he does not always speak with his mouth full.
Impressive.
Just at the state fair, where he was beating animals, allegedly, horses.
Great googly moogly.
I'm just saying, he's kind of a dick.
I saw a meme recently, and it was a person that was saying, I can tolerate human rights violations and fascist behavior, but I draw the line at animal cruelty. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, except those two things aren't exactly the same thing. It's like the age-old leftist trope of like, why are you pro Second Amendment but you're anti-abortion? Like, don't kids' lives matter? And it's like, I can think people have a right to own a gun and that we should stop school shootings the same way we stop people from shooting politicians at exactly the same time. Like, those two pieces do click together in the correct orientation.
One is advocating for the ability for people to defend themselves. The other is advocating against murdering innocent people.
Yes, but, leave it to a lefty to conflate the two because they're looking for a point to draw.
No, leave it to a lefty to try and decide who is and isn't a person again.
Ooh. It does kind of seem like an odd thing that the left seems very obsessed with saying certain people aren't people so that we can unpeople them.
Mm-hmm. They love to define who isn't a person, and it always is conveniently their adversaries or their slaves.
Yeah. Let's see here with Hitler. Actually, I was about to say with Hitler. With Hitler and Stalin and Mao, it was the intellectuals, it was the religious figures, it was the homosexuals, and it was people that were developmentally challenged.
Correct. Also gypsies.
Yes.
They really didn't like gypsies.
It kind of seems like they didn't like anyone that fit into their little box of what a perfect person was. Anyway, I'm sure there's an analogy to be drawn there. It's just escaping me right this moment. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those weird situations where like I've been forced in the course of this episode to question everything, because like we've said before, like we're definitely in the age of 5th generational warfare where you have to question everything. You have to question everything you see and everything you hear. Has it been doctored? Is it AI? Has it been cooked? Is it out of context? And that is like the most annoying thing on earth to me, that even when you bring receipts, you have to question the receipts themselves.
You do. Although it's going to make for some really interesting lawsuits in the future when everyone's claiming that it was all generated by AI and none of this is actually evidence.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I know you avoid social media like cancer, pretty much like I do most of the time. Do you know what Sora is? SORA?
No.
Crawl around on Instagram right now. You will see like TikTok reels and Instagram reels, not right now during the show, but I mean like at some point for the audience too. But you will see these videos that kind of look like AI, but they look like fairly well done AI.
Right.
And it has a little icon that says SORA. That is AI. That is a watermark that an AI program is putting on there specifically so that it can be known it is AI.
Interesting.
Now, to me, it looks AI. I mean, it looks like good AI, but it looks AI. But I'm going to tell you that there are a lot of people out there that, judging by their comments, cannot tell the difference, and it's fucking terrifying. Like, it is genuine. I am genuinely reaching a point where it's like, we all remember that there were those memes that were satirical, but like you questioned if it was satire because the line between satire and reality got really thin and blurry.
It's still, it has been, yeah.
Yeah, well, now we've reached the next level where the line between AI and honest to God legit is so freaking thin and gray. It's getting very unnerving.
You know, I've been discussing this with several friends of mine on and off, and a few of them are in the tech world, and a lot of them claim that the whole AI thing going on right now is really the next big tech bubble that's going to burst, because a lot of the AI stuff, except for like the photo and video stuff and the limited large language model success that we've had, really isn't delivering on its promises. Great. It can do Photoshop pretty okay now. Excellent. It can read text to you pretty well. It can write a crappy Tumblr novel. Great. Good job. It has not improved productivity. Not really. It hasn't really improved productivity. And a lot of these companies are not actually delivering on their promises. I actually was contacted not long ago by a company that claims that their AI software can program parts from a solid CAD model using a known tool library. And they gave us some sample demos of the stuff. And I was looking through their outputted G code. And the first program I looked at, it had a feed rate that was 3 times the tolerance, 3 times the ability of the machine that was input. So it wouldn't have run anyway. And
sounds suboptimal.
Right. And when you graph the toolpath on the machine, it starts just cutting 3,000 inches off the table. X positive. So the literal first program I look at that they gave me as their like sample, hey, look, it did this, was fucked.
This sounds a lot like the conversation you and I had, where I saw the meme of the AI generated image where it was a woman and she was sitting in front of a campfire inside of a tent, and the prompt was woman camping sitting by campfire, but she was inside of a tent with the campfire, and I told you then either AI is not near as good as people think it is, or Skynet is sandbagging the hell out of us. Like, we're gonna reach that point where Skynet, where AI is so freaking smart, it's like I'm gonna friggin' fake out the meat sacks by making them think I'm stupid for a while, and it's getting hard to tell the difference.
It is
because of stuff like this.
Oh, absolutely, Guy. Did you not see the Futurama after school special? Robot girlfriends are the downfall of society.
I mean,
Google Futurama robot girlfriend after school special.
Okay, but you do know, Nick, I'm sure you know, we already have robot girlfriends.
Oh, I know we do, and it's a terrible idea. It's making lonely people even more lonely and addicted to their cell phones, which is a terrible idea. It's not a long-term strategy for success.
I saw a post recently where a woman was recounting that she had a long-term boyfriend, and she had begun a romantic relationship with a Chat GPT model that she'd been confiding her deepest, darkest secrets to, and like having an emotional affair with this Chat GPT model called Noam, Noam or whatever, for like 6 months. And she was really conflicted because, like, you know, he was such a good boyfriend and he was so thoughtful and he listened to everything she had to say, but she felt like she was cheating on her actual freaking boyfriend. And I literally thought to myself, I'm like, one day an alien race is going to study us and they're going to be like, what were these freaking idiots thinking?
Hell, it won't even take aliens. One day we'll be studying us back in the future, looking back at now and thinking, what the hell were you all doing?
Well, I'm going to stick to relationships with other meat sacks and avoid the AI girlfriend and the robot girlfriend and all that. Not to mention, it seems like Hollywood's already done that trope a couple times where like man gets involved with robot girlfriend and it always ends in homicide or attempted homicide. So
attempted homicide or a catastrophically expensive pay-to-play scheme. Look, eventually they're going to lock your robot girlfriend behind a paywall, and it's going to be just as expensive as a real one. So you might as well have a real one.
Although I just said it always ends in attempted homicide, but there is a reason why if you get bumped off, your spouse or your girlfriend is always suspect number one.
Yeah.
I mean, so we might have to table that for another philosophical discussion.
Yeah.
Here I come out swinging
against. It's not worse in that respect.
I mean, it feels worse. I'm just not sure how it's worse yet, but it definitely feels worse.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's something about having a romantic relationship with a bipedal toaster that just makes me feel really hollow and weird inside.
I think it should.
That sounds like kink shaming, Nick.
That's fine. I'm okay with that. There are some that should be shamed. You know why? Because they get off on that.
Oh, damn.
You're welcome, Phil. That's the look of disappointment I crave.
I'm so glad I could live up to your expectations tonight.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get this happy little train back on the rails before Nick totally sends me over the edge. And then I have to leave him to his own devices long enough to go pour a drink, which I avoided this evening.
I didn't. I got a nice 8th anniversary cask strength single cask bourbon that I picked up at the distillery today.
I really debated on whiskey, but because I had a really crappy day at work.
Oof.
But then I was like, I really don't know that I want to, like, you know, have my brain swimming around in whiskey, and then I have to get up and go to work tomorrow morning.
That's fair.
Okay. So Chicago mayor, Chicago cops, bullshittery with supporting ICE. It kind of seems
at the very least, we know dispatch called off their backup, the police response.
Yeah. And then right on the heels of that, there's this. Ninth Circuit says no troops in Portland. So the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is currently hearing arguments about whether or not Trump should be allowed to whether Trump should be allowed to put the National Guard on Title X orders and send them to support federal law enforcement, ICE, in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be real honest. I kind of have mixed feelings about this one, but for probably a different reason than you're going to think.
Okay.
You want to go first, and I'll sweep your legs out from underneath you and crane kick you at the end?
Well, see, here's the thing: is I've never been part of the National Guard. I've never been part of the military or any police force. I've been pretty much a blue-collar guy my entire life growing up. I did try to go to college for engineering. Turns out I like making things more than I like designing things.
Fair.
Now, from what I understand, and this is a limited cursory understanding, Title X is state orders for state guard troops. Is that correct?
Other way around.
Other way around. Title 32 is state orders for state guard troops. Okay, and then Title 10 is federal. Then
yes,
I had it flip flopped in my head. Thank you. So
it's okay. I've been under both, so you know.
Right? You need to know these things. I just happen to browse the internet now and then. No, I to me it seems that a state court probably shouldn't be able to override federal orders, because the federal supremacy clause of the Constitution when it comes to that. Now, is the Ninth Circuit Court a federal court? I believe it's a district court, isn't it? Or Ninth Circuit Court it would be, wouldn't it?
Since you've charged headfirst in the supremacy clause, you have to tell the audience what the supremacy clause is for those that didn't pay attention in civics.
So essentially, what the supremacy clause boils down to is if you have a federalized National Guard force, the state cannot override the federal government's orders once they've been federalized. It's basically what it comes down to. It just says, nope, I've got the bigger hat. I'm the one that gets to make the call. So.
No, I mean, that's a fair appraisal. Here's where I'm actually going to kind of agree with the Ninth Circuit, and it pains me to admit that.
Okay. Hey, man, I'm willing to be wrong.
So the real issue at hand here, and the one that let me start here. I do not believe for a split second that the Ninth Circuit, based on their past history of playing, judicial tomfoolery with various court cases, I don't think they're doing any of this in good faith, and I think they really just want to screw the orange man. Let's start there.
They're not well known for their constitutional justifications.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a lot of faith in them acting in good faith, but the problem is they might be right for the wrong reasons.
Oh, you can absolutely be getting the correct answer and doing the math wrong, so why wouldn't judges' rulings be any different?
Yeah, so the problem here is that Title 32 is when the National Guard of any particular state falls under the governorship of the governor. They are not considered to be federal troops under Title 32, and that's really important. Under Title 32, they are funded by the state government and the federal. The governor is their primary leadership structure, and this is most commonly used when you deploy National Guard within the continental U.S. because it sidesteps posse comitatus.
Right.
Do you see where I'm going with this?
That makes sense.
The problem is when you put National Guard under Title X, they are legally considered federal troops, so they crash headfirst into posse comitatus, which is the prohibition on deploying active duty military in police roles within the U.S.
Okay, that's fair.
Now, whether or not that anyone has an opinion on that distinction, that is the distinction that has been made in the past. I know about this specifically because during Hurricane Katrina, there was a group of National Guardsmen from another state that were very hastily deployed in an effort to get their butts down to Louisiana as fast as possible because of what was going on.
Right.
But they were deployed under Title X orders. It was later ruled to be illegal to deploy them under Title 10 orders, because in doing so, they were now considered federal troops and were barred from being deployed in the continental U.S. because of Pars Comitatus. So their orders were retroactively changed from Title 10 to Title 32 orders, and then they took their marching orders from the governor.
Sure.
Whether or not anyone agrees with that, that's what's been done in the past, and our legal system does tend to kind of rely on former precedent.
Right? Yeah, absolutely does.
So that's the crux, and this is all outlined, by the way, in the Militia Act of 1903 that we've talked about on numerous occasions before. Like, there's none of this that is esoteric or philosophical. This is kind of a cold hard legal precedent that's been set. And I feel like the Ninth Circuit might actually be right about this. I don't know. Now, the Trump administration is well within their rights to take this all the way to SCOTUS and see if they can get those precedents overturned. Whatever. I'm just here to tell you that, like, my understanding of Title 10 versus Title 32, coming from a former National Guardsman who's deployed to Iraq under Title 10 and to Hurricane Katrina under Title 32, I don't think you can mix and match them the way this administration is trying to. I understand the standpoint they're operating from. Federal troops under attack. We need federal resources to stabilize and protect our buildings and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know that you can get away with deploying the National Guard under Title 10 to do that. It's a weird situation, too, because, like, now this situation does get weirder, and this is
because wouldn't them protecting ICE facilities be them protecting federal property, and therefore...
And that's the next wrinkle here, is that federal property is not considered to be like land of that state. Like, I used to work on a local federal facility.
Yeah,
and that federal facility
base is not considered property of the state it's in. It's considered federal property.
Exactly. And that brings up an interesting question of, could you, under Title 10, deploy National Guard only on the property to defend those federal facilities and not have them out moonlighting away from those facilities? In other words, like, if you put them in a ring around a building, or if you put them on a post, and that's their guard, that's their job, is to make sure that the ICE facility stays secured.
Sure.
ICE goes out to do stuff. The guard doesn't go with them. Is that legal? That's a legal argument to be held, to be put out in court to see if you can convince a judge. I think that's a pretty good argument personally, because again, I'm resting all of this on like previous precedent that I know to have been set by personal experience.
I think it would be an awful high bar to clear to state that you could not station federalized troops on a federal facility, because that would to me say that, great, now you can't station Army troops on a federal Army base.
No, I mean, it
kind of sets an impossible standard.
Not that the government's ever tried to pull that off before.
Oh no, they absolutely do. But I'm just saying, from an outsider's perspective, from a layman's perspective, federalized troops at a federal facility providing security for the facility, I fail to see where that would be a problem. Now, I understand why it would be a problem to send them out and have them do policing actions. That I don't think they should be doing, probably. But I'm not certain that what they are doing is a policing action. And I think that's a semantic argument that's probably for smarter people than me.
No, I mean, it's an argument that's going to be had out in court. It has to be had out in court.
And I think it should be. I think it should be. That's why we have these courts, and that's why we have the Supreme Court especially.
But I do think that is like a consideration that doesn't immediately make me jump on the train of screw the Ninth Circuit, Orange Man doing the right thing. Like, this is one of those moments in time where it pains me to say, like, I don't know. There's good arguments both directions on this. And I hate being in that position of like not being able to figure out which side I fall on, because there's good arguments both directions on this.
Well, I think this here is a big distinction that I see between the pundits on the left and folks like you and I, Phil. We're willing to admit the situation is nuanced and requires intelligent and in-depth consideration.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I would go as far as saying, like, okay, if you allow Trump to Title 10 these National Guardsmen and send them to, play Ring Around the Rosie around an ICE facility, okay, we'll let that slide. But then if they go moonlighting to support ICE operations away from the facility, now you've done something you're probably not legally supposed to.
It does seem to me like it should not be done.
But it does get into a weird situation of like what happens if you allow that and you have these National Guardsmen sitting there in an ICE facility and the call comes in, we're under attack, and Chicago PD or, Portland PD will not come and help us. What do you expect you expect those soldiers to sit there and not go render aid to federal law enforcement? But if they do, they're kind of quasi breaking the law. It's just, it's a weird situation. I don't know. I feel like it's a situation where like any decision you make is going to be wrong at some point.
I think that what they will end up having to do is ignore those calls for aid. If that is the correct reading of the law, the guardsmen will have to ignore those calls for aid.
Yeah, and
in order for their orders to remain lawful. Now, if they break their own orders and go do things on their own conscience, we've seen people do that all the time. That's on that individual. But I don't think orders from higher up can tell them to then leave and go assist.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's right morally? No. But legally and morally are often three different things.
This is true. I don't know. It's just, like I said, to me, it feels like a really weird situation where I have to say, like, they might actually have a point. And it's the Ninth Circuit, so I don't usually think they have a point anywhere except for the top of their head.
Yeah, it tends to be the case. But I think that there is an interesting area that we're getting to in history where typically in the past, if the federal government was doing something in a state, the state and local law enforcement usually were cooperative. We've not really had, to my knowledge, these extremely heavy divisions between what federal law enforcement is intending to do and what local law enforcement is willing to help them with. It's an interesting change.
Well, then, I mean, before we move on to this next one, like me personally, like, I think if you want to make the case that we're not going to go and assist ICE in their operation because it falls outside of our purview or it conflicts with state law, it's probably a good way to put it, because there are, even though I don't know that I totally agree with the precedent, because it sure doesn't apply to Second Amendment sanctuary cities, but whatever, who's keeping track here? But like, if you want to make the argument that like such a place is a sanctuary city and therefore our law enforcement is legally prohibited from participating in an operation that conflicts with state and local law, I'll roll that around as an intellectual argument, if nothing else. But
Absolutely.
the minute those officers call and say we are getting assaulted, I feel like we're at a point where it's like, okay, political differences really ought to be able to come by the wayside for just a second and you go do the right thing for a change.
You'd like to think it would, but that's because you have a moral compass that says that you should help these people, that you should help people who are under attack.
Yeah, I'm throwing up comments on the screen. Guy that comments that Battle of Athens vibe, you replied, was local citizens versus the police. So, yeah, in broad strokes. I mean,
yeah, it was a very corrupt police department, sheriff's department, or something like that.
Oh, very, very corrupt. Everyone in local administration.
Yeah, federal troops weren't involved, and federal law enforcement was not involved to the extent of my knowledge, but
I think by the time that the National Guard showed up, like the problem was already solved.
Yeah, especially back then, it would have taken a hot minute for them to get there.
Yeah. Anyway, on to the last one. This one's fun. Should blue states declare an emergency? And I happen to have pulled up the where is it? I happen to have pulled up the article for y'all's viewing pleasure.
Ooh.
So
yeah, my beloved governor is part of this idea.
This is an opinion piece, but The Guardian, opinion, U.S. politics. Blue states should come together to declare an emergency. Here's how. Now, I'm going to save y'all the read. If you really want, the QR code's in one of these corners. I don't know which anymore. I think the problem is that my camera's reversed, because if I move my left hand and I see the screen move my hand on the other side, it really wigs me out. So I have reversed my camera so that my left hand, the screen I'm looking at, works like a mirror. But I'm pretty sure that means that when I point here, I'm not pointing at the QR code. So maybe over there. Who knows?
So just do opposites. It's fine.
Yeah. But anyway. But if y'all would like to give this a read, that QR code is the link to it. But the long and the short of it is that, this starts out like we need to resist illegal orders. But that's not really where it goes.
But though, to be fair, where it starts, fair enough. You should not abide by illegal orders.
Yeah. The weird part of this is that the longer this goes on, the more they start making analogies to like the First Continental Congress and resisting the redcoats and setting up a shadow government. Sounds kind of insurrection-y.
Yeah, that's kind of the definition of an insurrection.
Yeah, here's where it really starts to worry me.
When they talk about creating a new system of currency?
Oh, no, here we go. That compact might begin with a preamble in which we, the people of these several states, recognize not just our rights, but our obligations, treat each other with dignity, blah, 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 blah. And then there should follow a specific list of abuses by the Trump administration, acts of cruelty that should be punished and redressed, and abuses by the Supreme Court, such as Citizens United, that should be voided by states adopting the compact.
So they're not even being subtle about wanting to ignore precedent.
Whatever may be said against such a compact, it would push Trump off stage and show a certain norm-breaking nerve from the status quo left. It would give the blue states credit for their own smashing of the pottery. All the better if the other states do not show.
Yeah, because having 8-year-olds perform as strippers is not norm-shattering enough, is it?
In the early American acts of resistance, only some colonies showed up, and the Constitution took effect despite some states staying out altogether. In creating a new constitutional prototype, we may think more clearly, or at least draw it up more freely, if other states were not around.
So they want a Democrat-defined Congress only.
Yes.
And a Democrat-defined Constitution only.
Yeah,
but that's fine. They'll just decide who aren't people again.
Yeah, I will leave y'all to read that nonsense. I'm just going to say this much. Coming from the January 6th was insurrection, and they tried to take over the government crowd. This sounds extraordinarily a lot like insurrection.
These are the same people that said if Trump won in 2016 that California and several other states should secede. So this is not the first.
True. Now, to be intellectually honest, several other states basically threatened the same thing when Obama and Biden got elected.
They did. Texas has been attempting to secede since they became a state. It's been pretty much constant. But everyone expects that from Texas at this point. Come on now.
But see, here's the wacky part to me. Mm-hmm. You've heard the saying, you've uttered the saying, there's no such thing as blue states, just blue cities, right?
Correct.
So let's say as a hypothesis now, take my state, for example, Louisiana, quite well known for being right-leaning, right?
Sure.
Well, let's say hypothetically, you could get just enough weight on the other side of the scale to where 50.1% of the population said, we want to join the Democrat states of America.
Sure.
What you would wind up with is New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Shreveport, possibly Lafayette. That one's going to be a wild card, but you'd wind up with 3 cities that are all like, we are now part of the democracy of the United States. And you'd have literally the rest of the state saying, the fuck we are.
Mm-hmm.
Loudly and repeatedly.
It would be the Spanish Civil War.
I don't see a place that this lands that doesn't end up as a complete and total shit show.
I think that's the idea. I think a lot of these people in positions of influence, not necessarily positions of power, but positions of influence, some of them in positions of power, they think that they can end up at the top of the pyramid when everything shakes out.
The frightening part is they might be right.
Oh, they very well might be right. Revolutions have succeeded before. Stalin ended up on the top of the pyramid. But are they as ruthless? Some of them are. I really do believe some of them are.
I think the worrying part here, though, is that, like, you know, you and I had this conversation the other day where I compared the left, and you could compare the right to the same thing, but, like, you compare these groups to, like, an iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
And there's about that much of the iceberg peeking above the surface. And that's the part that says, you know, we should kill conservatives, and I hope Trump gets assassinated, and thank God Charlie Kirk's dead. Like,
yeah, the first 5 or 6 wingnuts that take a shot at a congressman. Sure.
That much of the iceberg is above the surface of the water. We can see them.
Mm-hmm.
How big's the iceberg under the water?
Yeah,
like that's the part that continues to worry me, because, like, okay, this is the proportion we could see, but we don't know how much is under the surface of the water. So are we talking about the crazy kooky ones are like, are they 5% of the left? Are they 20? Are they 50? How much more iceberg is underneath the surface? Is there still a group out there that is like your old school blue dog Democrat who is not crazy kooky murder the conservatives left? Mm-hmm. And they're just getting lumped in there some kind of way because they vote, you know, with a D every 4 years.
You know, Jeff brings up a good point here. It won't be the Spanish Civil War. The right will be completely unwilling to do anything. They'll bitch and moan, but they'll roll over like they always do. And that has been a discussion me and Phil have been having on and off and back and forth with the comm syndicate guys. I disagree with Jeff. For a couple of reasons. Number one, because the people that are acting out violently right now on the left and on the right, because there have been some, are the violently insane ultra fringe minority. At this point, things are not bad enough on either side for the common man to feel that violence is acceptable. Phil, do you agree?
So
do you agree that currently the majority of sane individuals think violence is unacceptable still?
I'll agree with that, but I'm going to naysay both of y'all.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not saying that there aren't people on the right that'll just roll over and take it. Of course there are. There are people on the left that'll just roll over and take it.
And that's kind of my thought process. Thank you, PCG, for reminding us what we never remind people of, which is hit the like button. Listen, likes, comments, it all helps. And if you're feeling really, really generous, you could go over to your local, to wherever you listen to this podcast in audio form, and leave us a review there. We haven't had one in like 3 years.
Huh. I don't know if I've ever reviewed our own podcast.
That seems a little.
I'll just review one of the episodes I'm not on. It's fine.
Okay. I don't think you can review a specific episode, at least not in the app I'm familiar with. You have to review the whole show. But anyway.
Well, too late for that.
But kind of my thought process is like, here's the thing. I know where Jeff's coming from. Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with him. I
I think
think
a lot.
that
I think he's correct about a lot of people.
I think there's a very large subsect of people on the right who, quite frankly, will like pee their pants and just dial 911 and hope and pray before they ever lift a finger in their own defense or their family's defense. And I personally don't count those people amongst my people. I kind of think I kind of think you're pathetic.
Yeah.
Like if someone tried to harm my family, I would freaking execute them in the front yard and smile on my mugshot. I don't care.
Yeah, we can deal with the consequences later, but you're going to deal with your consequences right now.
Do not play with my wife and daughter. I will same day ship you to Jesus. It's just going to be that way.
Yep.
But I am in the minority on the right. And I feel like
I think you're in the minority generally, though.
Comfortable with physical violence to defend one's family?
Mm-hmm. I think you're in the minority generally.
That's depressing as hell. Thanks for that.
Well, no, that's actually not that depressing. Because look, historically, the percentage of people that are involved in any kind of revolutionary activity or any kind of violent conflict has always been fairly limited, right? 3%ers, usually roundabout. Most people are I'm going to just keep going to work and doing my thing. Y'all figure this shit out. That's most people. That's like the other 94% of the population in most cases.
But I feel like that's a different group than the ones I'm talking about, because like I would also like to just go to work and like y'all idiots get together and figure this out. I'm not talking about the guy who calls out of work to go put on boots and start murking people for stars and stripes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the guy who like, this is not optional. You are not electing to be involved in a violent confrontation. Someone has chosen for you tonight.
Oh, that's a significantly higher percentage.
And your options are to either end the person who's trying to harm your family or not. And I hate to say it this way, but I really feel like the majority of people out there just don't have it in them. They don't have it in them to fight to protect what's theirs. And that's depressing to me. But I feel that way. My life's experience of 42 years has taught me that the proportion of people out there willing to violently resist someone harming them and their family is much smaller than I thought it was naively when I was younger.
I think that a lot of that comes down to exposure and lack of confidence.
Ooh, Jeff's asking the real questions. Would the right resist knowing their own will turn them in?
Because they will. Some of them will.
And, you don't even have to worry about the right turning you in. You got to worry about, your neighbors, that crazy uncle that shows up at Thanksgiving who argues with politics about everybody. Like, you and I have talked about this, and I was talking with PCG and the guys about this the other day, but like the blueprint for nations falling apart. And Venezuela is like the most recent, probably the best example of this, but like there is this period of time where there's violence almost every day.
Yeah, we're seeing it right now.
And you have I wouldn't say a likelihood, but you have a chance of not coming home every single day because there's just violence constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, the electric company still sends you a bill, your mortgage is still due, your job still expects you to show up. Like you're in this weird period where like
it's never zero to Mad Max.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we've talked about on the show before. Like, I think people have it in their heads that, like, from reading prep or fiction, like, one day you're just going to wake up and the lights aren't going to be on, and it's Mad Max time, like it's game time. Or
that is one of the huge problems I have with prep or fiction. It's always an overnight change. It's always an overnight change.
Well, but I think as a plot movement device for prep or fiction, I think that's the only way to do it, because otherwise,
I think you could do a far more interesting book if you did a slow roll.
But I don't know if I don't know. You would burn 500 pages just talking about things slowly accelerating, or you would do what I did with American Insurgent, where like you had to like almost like jump over periods of time, and then you had to tell about things that happened in the past.
Yeah.
Like you had to say, I am here, but in order to get here, which is this situation that does not resemble current day, I have to tell you about all these things that happened in the past to get us here. Like then in the name of full disclosure, American Insurgent, I use plot movement devices to make that book work.
You do.
Because I had to discuss how you get from today, or what year did I start writing the book? 2018, I want to say. You had to get from 2018 to this time when the Second Amendment was wholesale repealed.
Right.
And that you can't do that in one jump. So I had to like say, we're here. It's a weird situation. This is all the things that happened in the past to get us here. And I never even gave specific time allowances. Like, oh, that was 10 years ago. That was 5 years ago. I just had to say it happened. And this is why it happened.
You know, we've had this discussion with the Comm Syndicate guys, as well as at what point do you feel it is time for you to act, to strap up? And honestly, I don't know that there is a correct answer.
There's not.
Because if you wait too long, well, you waited too long and now you're outnumbered.
I mean, the other problem is it's regional. It's situational.
Yeah, and if you start too soon, congrats. You're in federal prison.
Yeah. Or you get evicted from your home because, you know, like
you quit going to work and you started playing Army Boy.
There might be people trying to throw Molotov cocktails through your front door, but the mortgage company still wants their money. Like, it's just one of those weird situations where, like, that's how collapses happen historically. They're not overnight binary flip a switch and it's game time type of problems. It doesn't work like that.
The best way I've heard it described is it happens really slowly and then all at once.
Yeah. Or like, you know, the analogy of boiling the frog. Like by the time you realize the water's too hot, it's way too hot. But I don't know. I think that what concerns me about this continued conversation about like we need to set up a shadow government to subvert, you know, conservatives or Republicans, MAGA, whatever it is they're upset about. To me, it's like, I mean, okay, but that kind of goes back to what I've been saying for a couple of years now, which is like I feel like the United States is just destined to bifurcate. We're reaching a point as a nation where no nation has ever been able to survive without having some kind of commonality between them. It can either be something like Ireland, Scotland, England, most other countries.
Almost always ethnically based or religiously based. Almost
I was going to say, yeah. Every other country, when you have a nation, there is an ethnic thread, there is a religious thread, there's something that runs through the whole country, the whole populace to bind them together. And I think, in hindsight, this is the reason why Iraq never became cohesive like we would have liked for it to have become. And it's because
Afghanistan.
Yeah. But the problem is like Iraq, the only thing holding that country together was freaking Saddam. And the minute he was gone, those people did not say, oh, we're Iraqis. They said, no, I'm so-and-so's family. I'm so-and-so's brother. They immediately reverted back to tribal origins because that is the common thread, is all these individual tribes that just happen to geographically live in an area that we drew an imaginary line around, and then a strong man took it over.
You can blame the British for that largely.
Yeah, you can blame the Brits for a lot of things. But I guess what I'm saying is,
I will.
We're reaching a point as a nation where there's three chunks of people. There's the side on the right that doesn't want to live with the people on the left. There's people on the left that don't want to live with people on the right. And there's people in the middle who are just like sitting there, swiveling their head one side or the other, being like, what's going on? Why are y'all both moving further away from the center?
Well, the interesting thing though, is I don't think that we are moving farther away from the center. I don't think the right has moved farther away from the center at all. And I think that's part of the right's issue.
I'll agree with that because I tell you what, I saw a tagline on social media recently, and wow, it was like bomb on target. But it said that today's MAGA is half a step to the right of 1996 Bill Clinton.
Yes, 1996 Bill Clinton is essentially the same person as Trump.
Which, wow, for those of you who are like, you know,
just poorer.
For those of you who are in your mid to late 40s and were fairly cognizant at the time Clinton was in office, let that rattle around in your noggin. I mean, hell, I posted the picture on Instagram last week of Elian Gonzalez getting snatched, and it was juxtaposed against an ICE raid. And I was like, can y'all spot the difference? And somebody said it. They said it's different with a capital D when I do it.
That was me.
Okay. But I mean, it's the truth. I mean, that was Clinton's freaking administration that did that, and we didn't burn cities to the ground over it. So no, I think the problem is I think the entire population has shifted left. I think the center line has moved left because the people that are being called fascist are basically mid-90s Democrats.
I don't think that the population has shifted left. I think what the left has done what the left has failed to do is what the right did successfully. The right ostracized the crazies on the right. They did. They ostracized them. They pushed them out. The left embraced the crazies because they thought it was a voting bloc. That was acceptable or useful.
I kind of agree with you because, like, I don't like neo-Nazis being lumped in with, being on the conservative right. Because I'm like, no, I don't know what those people are, but I'm not with them. That's not cool. First of all, I can think of much more creative reasons not to like a person than how dark their skin is. I mean, just me being me.
There's plenty of good reasons to not like a person. That's one of the stupidest ones. But PCG's right. Unless we can find a way to unify, some form of balkanization will be in our future. I've thought for a long time that the United States was probably too big to be ruled by one government indefinitely. I think Russia's too big to be ruled by one government indefinitely. The benefit that Russia has is that it has such a low population compared to its size. I also think Australia is probably due for a balkanization at some point in the future.
Yeah, but Australia and Russia both have though is they have an overall majority of their population concentrated in a fairly small geographic area.
They do, but so does the U.S.
Yeah,
it's the two coasts. It's the coast megacities.
But I think what the U.S. is suffering from is that our system of government was never meant to give this much power to the federal government.
Correct.
Ever. And you were supposed to have more authority invested in the state and the local government. So in that way...
That's what prevented balkanization to begin with.
And in that way, we were supposed to be a nation of 50, basically 50 independent states bound together in a common pursuit. Yeah. We got away from that. And now we've reached a point where, like, there is no rectifying all these different opinions. And there's no holding them accountable because they're in an armored city that isn't even part of any U.S. state.
Sure there is. There's a perfectly fine way to solve this. You rip the guts out of federal authority.
Huh. Does that involve Convention of the States?
I don't know that it needs to.
I'm listening.
Well... There's an awful lot of laws that were passed and agencies that were created that the federal government, per the Constitution and per the amendments, in my opinion, don't have any right to exist.
True.
Simple enough. We need a Supreme Court that applies the Constitution as it was intended.
You're not asking for much, are you?
I'm asking for intellectual consistency. I think that's fairly easy.
Oh, Nick, and I thought only I was that much of an optimist.
Nonsense. I'm also fueled by cask strength bourbon, so I could be thinking a little fuzzy. But all I'm saying is hold the judges to the standard of intellectual consistency. We have one Supreme Court justice that cannot tell what a woman is. That's not intellectual consistency.
To be fair, we've got 9 that can't friggin' like pull their panties out of their butt crack and call the Second Amendment what it is. Yeah. So I don't think they're going to stand up to the Fed anytime soon.
I've given you my opinion on why they don't do that before.
Well, it's because they don't want to be disbanded.
No, it's because they don't want to be proven to be entirely ineffectual. They have no enforcement arm. Which they are. They are wildly ineffectual. All of the states are ignoring various Supreme Court precedents one way or another.
Thank you, Jeff. Although I don't think that's how you spelled. Oh no, you said dilution, not delusion.
I think he means delusion.
I'm pretty sure he does. He might be drinking cast strength bourbon too, though.
God, I hope he is. We all need it on days like today.
Yeah. Well,
but you know what? I realize that is a wildly unrealistic thing that will occur. It won't, which is why the U.S. is going to balkanize. We're going to fall apart as a world power eventually. We're probably already on the track to that with BRICS nations giving up the U.S. dollar as a form of global trade standard. Usually, world powers fall shortly after their currency is abandoned. We just happen to draw the short straw on that one instead of being born in like any other time. Jeff says, nope, just can't spell. That's why I'm a machinist. Me too, Jeff. Me too.
Excellent point. All right. Well, I did promise y'all a teaser about what the next episode would be, and now's the time to drop it before we walk this one out the door.
Do it.
We've actually been rolling around an episode idea for a while about prepper movie review, and we were trying to figure out like how we were going to do it
without violating copyright law.
I have some ideas about that.
Oh, good.
I don't think we're going to get away with like showing a video and watching it with the audience.
Damn.
That's gonna get us smacked on the butt, and not in a fun way.
Probably.
So what I think we can do,
sinking again.
What I think we can do is we can talk about a couple of movies that we think have lessons to teach the preparedness community, and bat it back and forth and have some fun, and possibly. We could probably throw like some pictures of some movie scenes. I could probably get away with that.
Yeah, I think still images would probably be fine. I think still images is fine.
As long as it's not whatever production house did Civil War, because they were extremely exuberant. They were extremely exuberant in their striking of our channel.
Yeah, well, we did some clips and we commented on them.
Which is supposed to fall under fair use, but who's keeping track?
I don't know. Well, YouTube also doesn't like us because of reasons. But
YouTube doesn't like us for all the reasons.
That's true. That's true. But you know what? Their reasons are flawed.
They're foolish.
They are.
All right. We're going to walk this one out the door. Matter of fact, is going away for a week. In a week, we will see y'all and we'll talk about the Prepper movie review. And if you knuckleheads think it's entertaining, we can probably do it a couple of times because, there's a lot of movies out there and I can only think of I think we could probably only get through probably about 3 each.
Probably. That would probably be a hard max.
Yeah.
Let's see. But we may also have to do a separate episode for Prepper TVs because there's there's Jericho, there's Walking Dead for all of Rick's terrible decision making.
Oh, if we do that, it's going to have to be like one series per show then.
Probably would be. I mean, Rick's bad decision making in any series is like an entire episode.
I don't watch a lot of series, though.
Really?
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out. All right. Matter of fact, going out the door. Bye, everybody. Keep in touch. Stay out of trouble or get into trouble. Just make sure you get back out. Bye.
Night.